Power is neither accidental nor benevolent. It is designed and strategically adapted. Today, we examine the second Trump administration's recalibration of U.S. involvement in the United Nations, revealing how multilateral systems are leveraged or discarded to reinforce national dominance. The objective is not fairness, it is control. In multilateral arenas, power is maintained by redefining the rules, not by adhering to them. Historically, the U.S. has dictated UN agendas through its status as principal funder and permanent Security Council member. Under President Trump's first term, selective funding cuts and open criticism aligned with an America First stance. Although the Biden era briefly reversed some withdrawals, the second Trump administration has renewed and intensified its fiscal leverage strategy to demand institutional realignment. Past precedent exists. In the 1990s, the U.S. withheld UN dues in order to force reforms. Today, it employs the same approach on a larger scale, exiting agencies deemed counterproductive and reducing contributions to others. Critics call this isolationist. Those in power see it as channeling resources for operational efficiency over idealistic cooperation. Funding manipulations reshape institutions far more effectively than public rhetoric. 4 primary levers ensure U.S. dominance within the UN framework. 1. Fiscal leverage. The U.S. covers 22% of the UN budget and around 26% of peacekeeping costs. Threats to withhold funds create immediate operational pressures on bodies such as the Human Rights Council and UNRWA. Emphasizing disproportionate contributions shifts financial burdens to other nations, amplifying U.S. influence. 2. Targeted agency withdrawal. Departing from the UNHRC, WHO, or the Paris Agreement limits external oversight of U.S. policy. By engaging selectively, the administration aligns mandates more closely with its own objectives. 3. Narrative engineering. By labeling UN structures as inefficient or biased, officials frame withdrawals as corrective rather than aggressive. This secures domestic acceptance and discourages international pushback tied to potential funding vacuums. 4. Institutional streamlining and audits. Executive orders to audit treaties and partnerships enable swift disengagement from any UN body at odds with U.S. interests. Invoking sovereignty bypasses prolonged negotiations, creating a transactional model where cooperation is purchased by continued American support. Strategic allocation of select emergency funds preserves critical operations, blunting backlash. The broader threat of full withdrawal deters significant countermeasures. Control is solidified by systematically pressuring institutions to conform, or risk financial collapse. Reduced U.S. engagement alters the UN's balance of power in 5 ways. 1. Consolidation of U.S. unilateral capacity. With fewer collective constraints, the U.S. redirects resources into defense, bilateral deals, and selective coalitions. 2. Potential erosion of UN operational effectiveness. If other nations do not offset U.S. funding cuts, core programs, from humanitarian relief to health, risk stagnation or downsizing. 3. Reshaped power balances. China and other rising powers can fill financial gaps, increasing their leadership roles. Mid-level powers may form new blocs, recalibrating UN decisions. 4. Amplification of great power competition. Every withdrawal or re-entry sets the stage for ongoing contests over UN governance. Only nations matching U.S. or Chinese funding gain decisive influence. 5. Domestic and allied reactions. Traditional allies reliant on U.S. leadership often lack both the political will and finances to fully substitute U.S. influence. Their partial efforts maintain American leverage. When funding power vacuums emerge, the strongest financial players redefine the agenda. This realignment demonstrates that influence within multilateral institutions is engineered, not inherited. Operational outcomes supersede cooperative ideals. Public perception is managed to justify unilateral aims. Key takeaways: control through financial leverage. Selective funding dictates compliance more decisively than force. Transactional engagement. Treating UN bodies as assets, not partners, enables rapid policy shifts and preserves U.S. autonomy. Narrative engineering. Declaring inefficiency at the UN normalizes withdrawals, reducing backlash and bolstering domestic support. Institutional adaptation. Without alternative funding structures, the UN remains dependent on the U.S., prolonging American leverage. Efficiency over morality. This is not about right or wrong. It is about managing resources for power. Through precise funding strategies and narrative control, those who design the framework dictate the outcomes. The objective is not fairness, it is control. Power endures when efficiency supersedes morality.